My name is Stephen Pringle. I work on the News Genius project, and I'm going to talk today about how we can use annotation to interact, critique, and discuss the way that most people get their daily information, and that is to say the media. The title of the presentation is a reference to the famous Leonard Cohen song, First We Take Manhattan, which I thought would be really appropriate, seeing as everyone here is in Berlin. So there once was a time when the media looked like this, like that. There weren't any ads on the front page. It's almost like viewing a news site now with an ad blocker. The information is really tightly packed, it's tersely written, and it rewards careful reading. If you wanted to discuss a story, though, you could maybe write a letter to the editor or hope that someone in real life had read the story as well. And this is the kind of model that the internet didn't favor, or rather, it didn't favor the internet. And now the media looks more like this. Digitally native companies like BuzzFeed and Vox have capitalized on the distribution platforms offered by social media. The algorithms by which social media networks display content are arcane, but they generally respond to people interacting positively with them, like liking or doing one of the various Facebook kind of interactions. So that's kind of had the knock-on effect that journalism is a hunt for clicks and likes instead of truth, which was kind of what it was founded on. It hardly needs to be said that this kind of content does not reward careful reading, nor does it really have anything to say. In terms of public engagement, the media hasn't really changed that much, let alone got on board with, what I'm going to really loosely call Web 3.0. We heard a lot yesterday about how comment sections are increasingly dominated by trolls, counter-trolls. Many publications shut them off, like periodically, to try and have a cooling down period or just for good. Twitter kind of offers a way around that, but ultimately it's the home for hot takes and people seeking numbers. That's actually a hashtag, like numbers, rather than critical analysis. And Facebook is a useful distribution tool for publishers. How useful it is depends on who you ask, but again, the comments are aspecific and separated from the article itself. This pass called Web Annotation opens up online media to critical commentary. While a comment section generally summons a mix of blank page anxiety combined with the power trip of being able to type whatever you want, annotation makes readers select a referent and build from that. The specificity funnels readers towards, as the dude who pretty much invented literary studies didn't quite say the words on the screen, towards thinking about them and analyzing them rather than just sounding off with your own opinions or like prejudices or like pre-formed ideas. And this has a range of applications. You can analyze the way that stories are told. It goes without saying that the media can often be biased, consciously or otherwise. Annotation provides readers with the tools to think critically about the way information is presented, to show that thinking to others, and to collaborate with them in getting to the bottom of an article's provenance or its bias. In this instance, we have a profile of a baseball player that refuses really to engage with his history of domestic violence. You can see the whole annotation just about there, but the final part kind of hammers home the point. It's a very weird contrast to have one paragraph about how Chapman fired 8 shots at his girlfriend and the next about his pitching. And this is actually, we've kind of noticed when we've been looking at articles like these, a systematic problem. An institution as venerable as the Washington Post made no mention of the rape charge against Kobe Bryant when it was talking about how great he was as he retired. And when there was the Yale Bulldogs had some success, the NYT pretty much buried the sexual misconduct charge against their captain and instead focused on how horrible it was that he wouldn't be able to play in the big game. This part's called When Click Farms Get Serious. This is an apparently serious piece of in-depth reporting about shootings by the Chicago Police Department. It's written by, you can see that, a BuzzFeed news reporter rather than a plain old BuzzFeed staffer. And it contains more than one sentence between each GIF. There's also apparently just generally a high level of detail. On first glance, it looks decent. The seriousness, alas, is only skin deep. And this is a reporter for Chicago City Bureau, and he used the tool to annotate and to rectify some really important omissions in understanding this very complicated story. for instance, I mean, those annotations are quite long, but he basically talks about how the police unions weren't mentioned at all. There was like, they're like fundamental in kind of protecting police from like prosecution for kind of unlawful shootings. And there's also, just pointed out, a lack of statistical depth. It says that Chicago has the highest rate of shootings, but that doesn't adjust for population of the individual states. Okay, and this part is just to show that we're not just haters. This was a kind of a really popular article in the New York Observer called L on Earth, and it describes how its author, Jacques Kaizagi, and the way he had an interview set up with a really famous fashion designer called Rei Kawakubo, and it was ruined by Elle magazine. It quickly became that thing that everyone is talking about, but annotation allowed us to foster a conversation that was more intimate to the text. It was annotated by a number of journalists and members of the News Genius community. Some annotations praised the writing, some were critical of it. Others drew connections with other texts and used its ideas as jumping off points for discussion. And you can see one of the annotations there is like close reading it and talking about how enjoyable it was to read. With this approach, every article becomes its own reading group, its own miniature knowledge project. Okay, so I've got a slide here on access to the media. Part of our mission at News Genius is to make articles like these accessible to all readers, to the general reader, not just the usual coterie of diehards. And to that end, we use something that's popular in online journalism right now, explainer annotations to introduce the article. They encourage participation in the news, in critical thinking, and in annotation. And my final slide is just an introduction to some of the people who are using News Genius right now. Our managing editor is Leah Finnegan. She's very cynical about all media. If you are too, I would suggest reading her annotations. The fix is Chris Saliza, who's a Washington Post reporter, and he'll do like full transcripts of like political speeches and debates, and satirize them, and the readers join in, our community joins in. Lara Littlefield was like a really interesting user that I spoke to. She said, "I'm always interested in how the industry is changing, what tools can do to hasten that in favor of those who are currently powerless. I think that social media has largely and rightfully replaced journalism in many areas today to give power to previously marginalized groups." That's kind of the one end of the spectrum, but it's kind of shows why I guess like people, non-specialists, are coming to annotation because they want to have a voice. You have someone else who's really interested in the way that the government is closed tools like Genius are being like kind of enjoying government deregulation. He thinks that's going to mirror what happened in the 90s with the financial meltdown. There's everyone else here, potentially. I'm not really notable. And that's all I got.
All right, we have 1 minute for questions while Oliver sets up. Questions for Stephen from News Genius?
So if your Genius is going to help support sort of scholarship in this conversation, is it going to support open interoperable annotations?
We really believe that the best way to create an annotated web is to have a product that like everyone uses. We've been like really open about the way that we're doing this. There's some like if you go to the Genius, what's it called? There's a series of videos on YouTube where the engineers talk about like what they're doing and how they use the kind of ID and reference system. I think we would like to kind of like build that product and then have the standards set on a successful product rather than build the standards and then the product.